Good evening. I'm Simone Sanders Townsend. Today, folks, the judiciary did what it was meant to do. Check a president who defied the rule of law, a sobering moment in our American democracy. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg said he found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt for violating his orders to turn around planes carrying deportees to El Salvador. The 46-page decision was unsparing, accusing the Trump administration of knowingly defying his very direct orders. To say that Boasberg has had enough is truly an understatement. This stands as a stunning escalation, but frankly, one that most likely will not move the administration into compliance, given that it has been openly defying court orders in a myriad of cases, including the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. A Maryland federal judge had ordered his return, but the Trump administration has said no.
Now, MS-13 is characterized, as they should be, as an FTO, as a foreign terrorist organization. So he is not coming back to our country. President Bukele said he was not sending him back. That's the end of the story.
I didn't know you could tell a judge no. And also, I will note that the Attorney General, nor the White House, nor the President of the United States, nor El Salvador has given us any evidence that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a criminal. Zero evidence. I mean, it's important to say. Folks, the judge in that case is also considering finding the administration in contempt. Yep. Boasberg warned that he would, in fact, refer the matter for prosecution if the Trump administration did not obey by returning to U.S. custody those who were sent to El Salvador. Joining me now is Congressman Ro Khanna of California and Melissa Murray, NYU law professor, MSNBC legal analyst, and co-host of the Strict Scrutiny podcast. Honestly, I've had it just as much as it seems like Judge Boasberg in this 46-page directive, if you will. Congressman, can I just start with you? We are seeing at least one of the guardrails that our founding fathers intended on working, that is the judiciary. Your thoughts about the developments today, and frankly, the fact that the Trump administration is actively defying other court orders as we speak.
It's a betrayal of the American experiment. Look, in J.D. Vance and Donald Trump's America, police can knock on an immigrant's door, deport them to a dictatorship without any due process. Now, the Supreme Court, 9-0, said that Abrego is entitled to due process here. It's important to realize it's not that El Salvador came and kidnapped him. We sent him there. We can certainly demand that he return. And J.D. Vance exposed everything when he tweeted out saying he's not even concerned about a pretense of compliance with the Supreme Court. He just believes that immigrants should not get due process. Well, you have a sitting vice president who's saying to defy the Supreme Court and saying that the Supreme Court's interpretation of the Constitution and due process is irrelevant, and all that matters is what he thinks. This is a unprecedented crisis in our country's history.
Unprecedented crisis. Melissa, you're a constitutional law expert here. There's a key quote from Boasberg's ruling. He noted defendants offer various imaginative arguments for why they nevertheless technically complied with the order. None of their positions would stand scrutiny. He also writes, defendants protest that the Supreme Court has since vacated the TROs. How can contempt lie? The Supreme Court long ago answered that question. It's firmly settled that a court order must be obeyed until it is reversed for error by the issuing court. Make it make sense, Melissa.
Sure. So Judge Boasberg in that passage is referring to the fact that the Supreme Court actually vacated his initial order on a procedural ground, that the case should have been filed in the Fifth Circuit, where the detainees had actually been before they were then rendered to El Salvador. So they took it out of Judge Boasberg's chambers and moved it to that other court. But the point he is making is that before that happened, before the Supreme Court acted, he had issued this order to the government to ask them to provide those detainees with due process, to let them have an opportunity to explain whether they had been removed in error or whether these charges against them were in error. And that order had to stand, and they had to comply with it until the Supreme Court removed it and put it into another court. So that's the point that he's making there. But I just wanted to address this broader question about the courts here. The courts are doing a Herculean job right now, standing up to this administration, but it's not really the job that they were intended to do, or at least not what they were intended to do alone. This is a tripartite system of government. The judiciary is just one branch. The other branch is Congress. And I would say here, with all due respect to Congressman Khanna, who I know from law school, Congress has completely abdicated the field here. And I know that the Democrats are not in a majority here, but this is a situation where a president is acting so lawlessly that Congress should be empowered to act, whether it is through oversight, whether it is through the power of the purse. Turn off the lights in the White House until there is compliance with the judicial order. There are lots of things that Congress can do if it has the will to do it, if it is acting on behalf of the American people. And that is the question here, too.
Congressman, I guess, is there anything you think that would move your Republican colleagues to assert what is their constitutional authority to do their jobs as being a co-equal branch of government? They are currently acting like an extension of the executive branch.
The one place that they've started to have doubts is on the capricious tariff policy, because the one thing in America you can't do is destroy people's money and wealth. And you have had some Republicans speak up. Their constituents' retirement plans have been hurt. The farmers have been hurt. Small businesses have been hurt. But what I believe, and Melissa's absolutely right, is that Congress needs to act. Look, when Brown versus Board of Education came out, the Southerners, in a shameful moment of history in Congress, passed a House resolution, or didn't pass it, introduced it, condemning Brown versus Board of Education. It was, unfortunately, a very powerful document. We need to, in my view right now, have a House resolution, make it as bipartisan, saying that the president has to comply with the Supreme Court. And then you need to use the power of the purse to make sure that happens. We also need an emergency DNC meeting that people have called for. I think the American people get the urgency. Frankly, I don't think enough people in Congress do. And so I think the critique is valid.